Turning to our top story now, US President Joe Biden's administration has announced support for a global waiver on patent protections for COVID-19 vaccines. US Trade Representative Katherine Tai has said in a statement that while intellectual property rights for businesses are important, Washington supports the waiver in order to end the pandemic. The US Trade Representative has said that negotiations will take time. The aim is to get as many safe and effective vaccines to as many people as fast as possible. Vaccine supplies for Americans have been taken care of. The Biden administration will now continue efforts to expand vaccine manufacturing and distribution. It will also work to increase the raw materials needed to produce vaccines.
We're really talking about the U.S. position as it relates to the WTO process, right? And that process will take a series of months and requires a unanimous point of view to move forward. So what the consideration now is the U.S. position. Our objective overall, as we look at this decision, is how can we provide as much supply in the most cost-effective way to the global community?
The decision offers hope to developing nations that have struggled to get access to life-saving drugs amidst the pandemic. Biden has been under intense pressure to waive patent protections for vaccine manufacturers. Rich nations have been criticized for hoarding COVID-19 vaccines, thereby not leaving any for the developing nations. More than 1.2 billion doses have been administered globally, but fewer than 1% have been given to people in the developing countries. Vaccine shortage is not an issue in the United States. The country is sitting on 300 million extra doses, which is nearly equivalent to its entire population. World Health Organization Director General Tedros has called the decision historic and a monumental moment for the fight against COVID-19. For months now, the World Trade Organization has been facing calls to temporarily remove the intellectual property protections on COVID-19 vaccines. The WTO chief described it as the moral and economic issue of our time. European Union Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said that Brussels is ready to discuss a US-backed proposal to waive patents on COVID-19 vaccines. However, pharmaceutical giants are fiercely opposed to the decision. They insist that patents are not the main roadblocks to scaling up production. They have warned that the move could hamper innovation. The International Federation of Pharmaceutical Manufacturers and Associations says, as we have consistently stated, a waiver is simple but the wrong answer to what is a complex problem. India and South Africa has requested the World Trade Organization to waive intellectual property rights on vaccines. More than 100 countries supported the call. Remember, as the world deals with lethal variants of the COVID-19, vaccine inequality has only added to the problem. The pandemic has claimed more than 3.2 million lives worldwide since it first emerged in late 2019. Many wealthy nations have made progress in suppressing the virus as mass vaccination campaigns gather pace. However, developing countries are still dealing with virus mutations, inadequate number of vaccines, and crumbling health infrastructure. WION correspondent Rachel Silverman joined us live from San Francisco. Let's listen in to what she had to say.
So the announcement came just hours after the WTO Director General spoke to a closed-door meeting of ambassadors from developing and developed countries that have been wrangling over the issue, but agree on the need for wider access to COVID-19 treatments. We don't know what was said, but clearly it was effective. The Biden administration saying it believes strongly in intellectual property protections, but in service of ending this pandemic, it's supporting the waiver of those protections for COVID-19 vaccines. this as the pace of vaccinating against COVID-19 in the U.S. is slowing down. And as you said, as the U.S. has an abundant supply, there are more doses here than people who want them. Advocates, of course, say the consequences of not passing the waiver are staggering, saying not only on the level of the loss of human lives, but also on the economic level.